So I will add a new horizontal line because we're now leaving the CSS world, though of course we could mix it. I'm just emphasizing this because that is perfectly fine. Maybe you want to play the animation through CSS and only listen to the end of it in the after enter hook we just saw and execute some JavaScript code once the animation finishes. That's perfectly fine and not that uncommon. But here I want to use all these hooks to really play the whole animation. So I got my horizontal line here and I will add a new button with button classes, button and button primary to give it some nice styling. And here I will load or remove an element, just so that I don't trigger everything with this show thing up there. Now here I want to add a click listener and toggle a new property called load, like before show, and I will simply add this new load property. I will set show to false initially so that we don't see all the divs from before, but that we can now focus on this one here, load, which is the new one we will use for all the JavaScript related things here. Then I'll add 2 line breaks to just have some space here. And then of course the transition component again, which I just explained does have these specific events it emits. Now in there, I still want to have a div, but now let's set it up a bit differently. Let's give it our own style here. Let's say with a width of 100 pixels and a height of 100 pixels and a background color of light green. And if we save this and go to the application, we should see this. And right now this doesn't work because now I will also need to attach if to it and bind this to load to conditionally, well, attach or detach it after reloading here. Now this works, but now we want to animate it through JavaScript. So we got our div here, which you can attach and detach. Nothing spectacular here. We did that before, but now I want to use JavaScript to do that. Now for that, let's see which hooks get executed. We saw it on the slide. We got a couple of events we can listen to. The first one is with at, as we do listen to all events, before enter. Now this is a custom event emitted by this transition component Vue.js ships with. In the quotation marks, we specify which function or method we want to execute, and I will execute a before enter method, which of course I will have yet to create. Then we got the enter method or the enter event being emitted here. Then we also got the after enter event, which is executed once the animation finishes after enter. And we got enter cancelled. Now, I know I already said this, but you can use all these hooks on the CSS animations up here. For example, if you added to, let's say, the first one here, add the after enter event listener, you could execute some code whenever the CSS animation finishes. So that is perfectly valid and something you will probably also use from time to time because you want to execute some JavaScript code upon finishing some animation. Back to this here though. Now we got these enter hooks and we got the same for leaving. So we got before leave here. And I want to execute before leave this method, which I of course also have to add. Then we get just the leave event being executed or emitted, I should say. Then we get after leave, where I want to execute after leave. And finally, we get leave cancelled, where I want to execute leave cancelled like this. So these are now all the event listeners being set up, listening to all the events this transition component does emit from time to time here during the animations. And now let's add them. So in my Vue instance, I'll add my methods here. And here I got before enter. And then before enter, we actually do receive a certain argument. The argument we get here is the element on which this animation is performed. So we can use this element here. I simply want to log before enter here so that we can see that we reach this hook. And then we get the enter method. Now the enter method, which is where the animation really plays, also gets the element. We need this element, of course, to be able to really change it, to work with it. But this now also gets another method, the done, or argument I should say, the done argument here, which actually is a function we can execute like this. Now why would we execute it? Well, first I will log enter here, but now why would we execute done here? Done is needed to tell Vue.js once this animation finishes. When using CSS animations, well, it can determine this from the timing we set up here on the transition or the animation property. But when using JavaScript, we have no such timing. You could say, well, it should be finished whenever all the code and enter is executed, but maybe you have some asynchronous code there, then this wouldn't work anymore, because then it would be executed before the asynchronous code finished. So you need to call done to really tell Vue.js when you are done. You don't need to call done if you do use CSS animations. So if we were to use the add enter listener here and execute enter here, where we do have some CSS animations being used, well, then Vue.js is still able to determine when this animation ends from your CSS code. But if you don't have any CSS code set up as we do here, well, then it's not able to do so. Therefore, you need to tell it with the done function being executed. Well, once we are done, we got the after enter method we execute up there. And after enter also receives the element. All these hooks do that. So here I will then console log after enter to see that we reached that. And then we get enter cancelled, of course. Here we also get the element on which we canceled this animation. And I will also execute enter cancelled here. Now these are all the add the element hooks. Now let's add the other ones. So we get before leave, of course, also with the element. And here I want to console log before leave like this. Thereafter, we also got the leave hook. And here again, we get the done function because as with adding it, we want to know once we're done leaving it or removing it, I should say. So here I will console log leave. And then, of course, we got also after leave being executed. Here I want to console log after leave, therefore. And then I also got leave cancelled, where we also get the element, and then we log leave cancelled like this. Now these are all the hooks which get executed, and we should already be able to see all of that by simply saving this, going to the application, opening up our console here, reloading this, and now let's remove it. We see before leave, and we don't see after leave, before I forget to call done here in this leave hook. Just was explaining it and then forgot it. But the great thing is you now see that it is important. So let's try this again. Remove it. Now you see before leave, and after leave. And if I add it again, well, then you see before enter, and after enter. You can't see the cancelled hooks being called right now, because since everything happens instantly, I can't cancel it. We'll come to this in a second though.